actually been screaming that at Caleb as of late. You locked in? You locked in for that world history test? You locked in for this? Sometimes he is, sometimes he isn't, man.
Oh, we got to make sure the Deeks are in there.
Yeah, the Deeks are in there. They're in there. But why are you messing with the camera already?
Because.
Darn it. Anyway, you ready to get this thing going?
Yeah.
With apparently...
I have a mod.
What, you have what?
Our commenters. I can't resist the commenters.
Yeah, I know you can't.
Squirrel.
I know. You're very much on the squirrel thing there. Let's see. Hold on a second. Hold on just a second. Make sure that everything that we're doing is fine. Because I just want to make sure that we're rolling here. Okay. We are rolling. Let's go. Let's podcast alongside Joe Giglio. I'm Joe Ovies. It is Thursday. It's just past 2:00. That means it's a sleek-fleet.com OG live inside Eford Studios, brought to you by Copiers Plus. Check them out online, copiers-plus.com. We're going to talk to Tyler from Sleek Fleet in a little bit. We have a very busy show today on the OG Live, brought to you by Sleek Fleet. We got Mike Maniscalco, who's going to drop by in a few minutes. It's trade deadline eve. Jonathan Jones, CBS Sports. He's finally calmed down from the Super Bowl and the Combine. He's got time for us ahead of Duke, Carolina.
I also hope he's got a Russell Wilson update for us.
Oh, my goodness.
Our guy.
Well,
our official Russell Wilson correspondent.
Speaking of Russell Wilson, we might have an update with Brooke Pryor, ESPN,
we got that cornered. We got that cornered.
Who covers the Steelers, and it looks like Russell Wilson and the Steelers are talking.
Makes sense.
So I'll be curious to see what Brooke has to say about that. So we got plenty of things to get into today. It should be a lot of fun, but let's get to the two most important things of the show. It's almost like we got to do housekeeping right out of the gate.
Yeah.
So to speak. So housekeeping. I think we discovered that because we don't really have anything Wake Forest in the studio, you went and you bought Wake Forest stuff today.
We had two choices. One, we completely lean in and go and get something Wake Forest to improve their mojo. Or two, we disavow my Deeks. And since I am not a quitter, sir, despite what your shirt says, we are not quitting on our Deeks.
Not quitting like a champion today.
We will go down in flames in DC if we have to with our Deeks. So I got a license plate and then a decal, which is right above my head. Quality placement. So they're still our Deeks. Can't shake us.
I did order the pennant.
That's going to be glorious.
That Deacon's pennant. I did order that today off of eBay. Hopefully that will show up here in the next couple of days in time for the NCAA tournament. That is, if they're in the NCAA tournament. Hopefully you putting up stuff here will help them out getting into the NCAA tournament. Because they're taking on what? Clemson this weekend?
Big game.
That's a big game for them.
Clemp, they need it.
They do need that game. The other little bit of housekeeping, and I'm going to start. I know, Joe, you business-wise, we've had a lot of heart-to-hearts today about some things.
We've had a lot of meetings.
You're kind of in your feelings right now.
I am.
This is why we're actually drinking Groove Wagons today, just to chill you out a little bit.
Just chill.
But I did want to start the show by telling you were right.
Oh, about what?
About the worst thing you could ever tell a Carolina person.
Oh,
so a little bit of context. I find this fascinating.
Okay,
it actually kind of makes me upset. If we're being real, it kind of makes me a little bit upset.
Okay,
because people are being intentionally obtuse. But the best I can tell, people are being intentionally obtuse. So yesterday, we played a funny clip from a podcast that's hosted by Theo Pinson and Justin Jackson. We're talking national champs here for the Tar Heels.
Yeah.
It's called Title League. That's what they do. It's got their YouTube show. They got all this stuff. I got no problems with Theo Pinson. I got no problems with Justin Jackson. Good dudes. And they had this clip the week of Duke, Carolina. And the question was, well, who do you hate more, Duke or NC State? And they said, no, I hate NC State.
Right.
I think
which is consistent with the last 10, 15 years. Yeah.
And Theo said, man, I cannot stand them MFers.
Yeah.
Which I thought was great.
That's a great compliment.
Coming out of the clip, I'm laughing. And then all you did at the end of it was, you care. Mm-hmm. Clearly you care. Mm-hmm. So I put the clip out there because I thought it was funny. I tagged Theo Pinson because I'm not like that. I'm not out there doing the thing where I'm going to subtweet you anymore. I've grown.
Growth.
I've grown. We're not subtweeting. I'll tag you,
man. You said it. We responded. We're good.
So he goes, I'm confused. Oh, because part of the thing that you said about you care, it's like, unlike your football team,
right.
who clearly didn't care, and you see the result.
That was more embarrassing. That was more of an insult. Not caring is more of an insult.
Totally agree with that. So Theo Pinson retweets it with, I'm confused. Do I play football? And I responded to him. What's there to be confused about? Y'all cared. They don't. Football. It shows. Thus, as he put it, the annual ass whooping. Clearly, when you see NC State, you dislike them so much, you care enough that you're like, I'm going to shut you MFers up.
Yeah. You're like, it's okay if we lose down at Tallahassee like every other year the way that they do, but not, or Atlanta all the time.
Roy Williams will tell you, the player, I would rather not eat than lose to NC State. So clearly you care. That's what kind of makes the rivalry what it is. And he's like, so it's more of a rivalry in football? Is that what you're saying? No, that's not what I'm saying. So as this is happening, as I'm trying to have this conversation over social media, and I'm seeing my timeline with a bunch of people like, you're an idiot. You're an idiot. I'm like, what am I missing here? And it dawned on me. Shit. Joe's right. The worst freaking thing you could say to a Carolina fan is, so you care.
You care. Yeah.
And they lose their minds. I mean, not all Carolina fans, obviously, but a subset of people who are convinced it's not a rivalry. All you got to do is give examples of them caring. And all of a sudden it's like,
yeah. I actually remember when Joel Berry said this his senior year. So it was the year that I covered Theo and Joel in 18.
Yeah.
And he said, the current players do not think of NC State as our rival. I don't disagree with that attitude in basketball, but you don't get to separate as a school. Well, we're not rivals with you in this sport. No, NC State and North Carolina are rivals. Whether the basketball results suggest they are or not. But I get it. Like, they cared more about beating Duke for sure. That's totally understandable. Duke is their peer. Duke is their fellow blue blood. Duke was competing for the same players. The Got Man, ironically enough, did recruit Theo Pinson. So maybe he was mad about. Maybe he was mad at the Got Man.
And from Davis on the comment section on YouTube, Pinson does have a point. What's the point?
No. I think this is where we're old. For real.
Okay.
If you're younger, right? Like, Roy is older than us. So Roy's era, the reason Roy hates State so much is because Tommy Burleson and David Thompson beat the brakes off of Carolina the entire time that he was in school. So, like, there's a reason. Also, there was other reasons why State fans used to basically taunt Dean Smith about not being able to win the national championship. Right. So, like, he took a lot of that personal, but the older you are, the more you see State and Carolina as rivals. Michael Jordan, who's got 10 years on us, believes that State was his rival.
Of course.
He didn't believe in Duke.
But you know how I feel about the Duke thing. The Duke thing's too nice. And that's why I enjoyed like last year to a certain extent. It got spicy.
The Nolan Smith here was the one.
Yeah. It got a little spicy. I'm like, good, because the Duke Carolina rivalry has been way too nice as of late. Happy NHL trade deadline eve. Mike Maniscalco, Bally Sports play-by-play and regional Emmy winner.
Oh,
those two that I see now back there, Mike?
Two right back, man. Right back there.
Look at you.
Good
time. Congratulations on your latest Emmy. I still enjoy my completely made up, we did nothing to earn an Emmy, but I still display it because that's what you do when you bring it into the studio.
Oh, yeah. We got the bookcase. I might as well put them somewhere.
Yeah, might as well put them up, right? It is what it is. All right, so it's NHL trade deadline eve, and Mike, there's history, and then there's what fans want. And the history of a Tom Dundon, Don Waddell, Rod Brindamore Carolina Hurricanes team at the trade deadline is, maybe we'll do something small. Hey, Max Domi, we'll bring you on. You can do a game winner for us. Cool. But they don't really do much of anything at the trade deadline. But that doesn't stop people from speculating and wondering if the Canes are going to do something between now and tomorrow. What do you think is going to happen, Mike?
Can we go back to talking about his State, North Carolina's rival?
No.
Damn it.
Nope.
Well,
Nope.
I tried. Look, the one thing that I want to tell everybody, and I did a dive on this about a month ago. If you want to go back to the last team that added a major piece, and when I say a major piece, like an all-star and all first-team player at the trade deadline, and that team then went on to win the Stanley Cup, and that player was a contributor, you have to go back 18 years, 2006, when the Canes added not Doug Waite, because Jim Rutherford jumped in front of the line on that one, I would rather do that. It's when they added Mark Recchi.
Mm-hmm.
And Mark Recchi is a guy who comes in, and you have to add him because you don't have Eric Cole, who breaks his neck, and you're not sure if he's going to play, period, let alone play for the playoffs. But that's it. So a lot of times when you go after the big shiny toy, it doesn't work. Ask the Rangers last year. They got 2 of them. Everybody was falling all over themselves to get Patrick Kane and to get Vladimir Tarasenko, who, by the way, got moved again, this time in front of the trade deadline. But, they didn't get the Rangers over the hump. They didn't get the Rangers past New Jersey in the first round. You have to look. My cat wants to jump in on this too, by the way. Say hi to everybody, Greg.
What up?
Hey, there you go.
Lila and Pearl say hey.
Yeah, no, awesome. So that being said, what it rolls down to for me is the Canes, they'll be active. They'll make pieces. Like last year, Shane Gostisbehere paid immediate dividends for the Canes. Their power play was struggling a little bit.
Right.
Now, is that going out and adding Cale Makar? No, but Cale Makar is also not available when you look at things like this. Is it adding Noah Hannafin? Well, the Canes had Noah Hannafin. I think they're all right on defense. They'd like to add a little bit of depth. The player last year, and I don't want to say it shifted the balance of power, but what you want to do is if you think that you're a Stanley Cup team, you want to strengthen areas. And Ivan Barbashev was not a trade last year that shook the hockey world. But that's a deal that the Vegas Golden Knights will tell you that if they don't win the Stanley Cup.
All right. So
those are the deals you're trying to make right now.
Mike, the beauty of doing YouTube live and having you on live is that we can live react to things. I don't have a breaking news sounder, but we'll just go air horns. Walt Ruff, our friend, Canes.com. In an effort to maximize flexibility ahead of tomorrow's 3 p.m. trade deadline, the Canes have placed Tony DeAngelo, Brendan Lemieux, and Antti Ranta on waivers. I understand the DeAngelo. They've been trying to shop DeAngelo since the beginning of the season, best I can tell. Ranta's cleared off of the IR, so here we are with him going on waivers. I guess they like Spencer Martin in the grand scheme of things. And then you got Brendan Lemieux, who was brought in to solve some problems, but hasn't necessarily done that. You're clearing up cap space for that. What could they be clearing cap space for, Mike?
Well, I think you're clearing what you're actually, if you look at cap space, there's not a lot of cap space that's being taken away.
I think it's like $3 million.
And by the way, if you send those guys to waivers, yeah, that's fine. That's great.
Yeah,
you're clearing up roster spots. That's what you're doing with that. So yeah, this is a team that, and again, they're looking to add depth. They're looking to add pieces that can help them. Look, it's no secret that Tony DeAngelo has been wanting a trade for probably, I would say, since the end of November. That he's wanted to trade, and the Canes have tried to facilitate. It's just one of those things where you have to make it happen. Brendan Lemieux comes into a point of, okay, we know that the Canes want to add a forward with playoff experience who can help out, be a depth guy who can maybe slot into the top 9. Hey, if you can get a top 6 guy, that's great. The Ranta thing, that's one of the things you just look at. That becomes a numbers game.
Yeah.
And the way that Spencer Martin has played, I don't think that you can put him on waivers and expect him to get through. Somebody would claim him somewhere. Ranta had gone through waivers and passed before, and I hate to say it, but if he goes through waivers and somebody picks him up now and he goes away to the team that claims him, you wish him the best of luck. He is one of the nicest people on planet Earth. But those moves there, that's freeing up roster spots. And yeah, it gives you a little bit more flexibility for cash. Canes they're not flush with cash, but they had enough. Hence why everybody lost their mind when they helped out Toronto in the Lyubushkin deal, where they took some of the salary on that one to get a pick for absolutely nothing. But it's one of those things where you're looking at, okay, these moves are happening now to create roster space tomorrow at the trade deadline. Or maybe there's somebody who they're going to call up who they really like, who's been playing well. Vasily Ponomarov looked really good in his debut. with the Carolina Hurricanes. You know, there's some guys who you look at there, but yeah, when these moves are made and I see that, it's you're just trying to generate some roster flexibility. And what can you do once you get close to the trade deadline?
My 16-year-old noticed that Freddie Anderson was sitting directly behind us at the most recent home game. When will we see Freddie is your best guess at this point? On the ice, not sitting behind us.
That's a good question. I mean, it's one of these things where if the Canes had a morning skate today, they didn't have one in advance of playing Montreal. I am going to go with sooner rather than later. And the release or the putting on waivers of Antti Raanta kind of leads me to believe that he is probably closer to getting on the ice in a game more than we can think. I mean, who knows? I look at it this. I wouldn't be surprised. You got a back-to-back this weekend. You've got New Jersey in New Jersey. Joe, I'll say hello to everybody for you up there, Giglio. And then you come right back and you've got to go play an afternoon game on Sunday. I mean, if he's progressing the way that everybody is saying that he is progressing, and he has been in the starters crease at practices that I've attended, I mean, we could see him, I could coin flip it and say maybe this weekend, maybe sooner. I have no idea because I haven't been around the team for a couple of days. So.
All right. There's a game tonight.
Yeah.
They haven't played in a bit.
No.
Probably a good thing. I know Rob Brindamore has talked about the schedule a lot. So it's nice to get a little bit of a break. I know they went through it a bit. I know after the Winnipeg Jets game, they weren't happy with the way things played out. So look, it's a long season, a couple days away. How has the team kind of been getting over what happened over the weekend?
You know what? It's one of those things where in the course of a season, you're gonna dump a game like that.
Sure.
And it's always, let's go with recency bias, guys. If this happened in October, nobody remembers it. Hell, nobody remembers that they got run out of Seattle. In Seattle, I think it scored a grand total of 4 goals in their first 8 games, and they put up 7 on the Canes. Sorry that I have to bring that one up for people who forgot about it. Sorry to the guys who were there. I think that honestly,
Aaron points out that we're lucky as hell to have Mike Maniscalco as a broadcaster in this market, and you're already having to apologize.
Well, it's no worries whatsoever. Don't worry. A lot of people have tried to get rid of me in this market. A bad penny. I keep turning up. Thank you. Yeah, I'm with you.
Yeah, here's toast for Mike.
Yeah, you're welcome, gents. So in this case. What you're looking at is the 3 days off are good because take a look at the schedule, guys. I think it's 14 and 28.
Mm-hmm.
It is literally every other day. 2 sets of back-to-backs this weekend and next weekend. And you know what? If you're a really good team, you let this bother you, but you don't let it stick with you. You just like this. They should have been pissed off for the 3 days that they were off. And like, how do we blow this? And if you end up a point behind the Rangers for first place in the Metro Division, then that's something that you can go back and revisit. But again, the mindset for me, for this club, is all about the playoffs right now.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't want to say, people are like, oh, this is a learning experience. Or wait, you don't get a wake-up call 60 games into the schedule.
And not this group, for heaven.
No, and that's the other point, too, Ovi, is that it's not this group. By the way, I want to call you guys Joe so desperately, but I feel so terrible. Like, I don't know which one of you that that I'm saying it. And then
I would be able to tell with inflection.
That is also true. So to your point, not with this group, because they know they have been here. They don't need the wet fish to the face to be holding. We got to play 60 minutes to win a game in the NHL. No, it doesn't work that way for this group. But what it I think will do is it does serve as the reminder of when you're at this level, this close to it, you can't let off the gas at all. And for whatever reason, there's stupid leads in sports. Giglio, in basketball, like a team gets up like double digits with 12 minutes left in a game. Well, that's going to go away.
Yeah,
it's a game of runs. I heard somebody say
Sydney got us.
Got a hashtag.
And then in the case of the NHL, I don't know why 3-0 or a 3-goal lead is just one of these things where the team that goes up 3 goals is like, oh, well, this one's over.
It's the most dangerous lead I've been told.
No, I talked with Shane Willis about it, and I said, how come this is the case? And he had a really good point. He goes, well, back in the day, for soccer fans, you just park the bus and say, try to get around us, and you just defend for the last period. And, we're not going to give you anything. He goes, today's NHL, you got to keep going forward. You got to keep trying to add to the lead because of how dangerous the opposition is. So if you get stuck in that, we're going to try to turtle. Let's face it. Having a turtle pop out is never a good thing.
And on that note,
yes,
Mike Maniscalco,
perfect ending.
play-by-play Valley Sports.
Dude, hang on.
I would say Jonathan Jones is in the waiting room. I don't think Jonathan's paying
attention. Emmys for nothing, guys.
That's right.
That's right. 2-time.
Oh, wait, hang on. Is JJ coming on?
Do I need put him on right now? There's JJ.
There we go.
You see him?
No. This reminds me of when I was like 14 and you'd call our buddies. I think I see JJ's ear. Well, that's hot.
Now JJ's got a hoodie on today. He's not 3 buttons deep.
No, definitely a hoodie guy today.
Oh, JJ, good to see you. It's been forever, man.
Man, so good to see you.
You've blown it up. It's always good for the little enclave that used to roll into all these ACC tournaments to see somebody actually make something of themselves.
Unlike these idiots who are doing a podcast.
I mean, hang on. Is he not scrambled? Is he not scrambled on your guys' screen?
No, he's not. I see him perfectly clear.
Oh no, for me, it's like I'm looking at like Skinamax in like 1997.
No. Well,
here I know. I'll take a picture of what I'm looking at right here. And I'll bring it up. Because at first I'm losing my mind.
All right, Mike, go get ready for the game, man.
I got to show you this. So everybody sees what's going on here.
What do I say? Oh yeah, that's weird. I wonder
that's what I'm looking. That's what I'm looking at.
That's strange.
Told you in real time.
I don't
Sometimes
know.
the StreamYards doesn't cooperate.
Yeah, if you look, you might see something on that green. All right, Mike. We'll talk to you in a minute.
I think that's his. Never mind.
All right, bye, Mike.
JJ, have fun, guys.
Thanks, buddy.
Jonathan Jones, CBS Sports. Hey, man.
What a guy.
Hey, well, wait till our next transition at 2:30. Can I pay some bills real quick?
Hit me.
All right, we're gonna pay some bills real quick. So just sit tight. Big thanks to Mosquito Authority, Pest Authority for sponsoring Ovies and Giglio. Check them out, bugsbite.com. The weather is gorgeous. The weather's lovely right now, but you also know.
You know what's coming next.
Yes, so get ahead of it with their mosquito treatments and other pest treatments with Pest Authority. So go to bugsbite.com. Also, big thanks to Longleaf Swine for sponsoring Ovies and Giglio. Longleafswine.com is the website. We're going to be out there March 21st, special 1 o'clock show. That's in 2 weeks from today. We're going to be doing our big basketball bracket bonanza, 1 o'clock, Longleaf. We may or may not buy you bourbon. You have to show up to find out.
Not just bourbon.
Although, given the tax bill,
maybe we won't.
Maybe we won't be buying bourbon, as we found out as small business owners. But either way, come on out, 321 for our big basketball bracket extravaganza. I'll probably be hitting up Longleaf Swine this weekend. I had that brisket melt last week. It was fantastic. You should go check it out. And, of course, big thanks to our friends over at Breeze Through for sponsoring Ovies and Giglio. Locations across the triangle. If you go to the game tonight, PNC Arena location is always popping, always getting it done. Get that dark roast coffee because it's going to help you power through some hockey tonight. Joining us on the Heister Automotive Group hotline, Jonathan Jones, CBS Sports. JJ, what's up, man?
What's going on, fellas?
What is a bigger networking event for you? The Super Bowl or the Combine?
Combine, without question.
Okay.
Yeah, because, well, first of all, we just had the Super Bowl, CBS, and so like your number one thing is wherever work needs you in that moment, right? Then if it's not a CBS Super Bowl, you have a little bit more flexibility, right? But the Combine is where every coach outside of, the Rams and a couple of teams, but every coach, scout, general manager, personnel executive, agent, like they're there. So that's the barrel. So shoot the fish. Okay. That makes sense. And also it being in Vegas, good luck trying to track anybody down at that point. No, I mean, there were a lot of back page misconnections. I was 2 a.m. up in the club. Where were you? Nah, I was back at the hotel. I was back at the Luxor, living life at the Media Hotel for sure. All right, so I want to go backwards before we look into this offseason. And we haven't had a chance to talk to you about Dave Canales, the hiring of Dave Canales, the hiring of Dan Morgan as the general manager, and how this is all kind of coming together for David Tepper
I guess what, 3.0, 4.0 at this point when we go into the next front office round. So they went ahead and they hired Dan Morgan first, or elevated him to be the general manager. And the thing that I've been trying to push back on, and maybe you can shed a little bit more light on this, is that they're trying to treat Dan as though the decisions that were made were solely his decisions. It kind of reminds me when Rod Brindamore was elevated to head coach. He was an assistant. Like, well, all these things. I'm like, well, he was the assistant.
Right.
He wasn't the final guy calling the shots. So where was Dan in that hierarchy before, and why is he different than the previous regime?
Yeah, I mean, just like anything, you two guys get along well, but you're not going to agree on everything. He and Scott Fitterer got along really well, but I don't know. And Dan honestly wouldn't say publicly, because he is so close with Scott, what he disagreed with him on and truly what he agreed with him on. Like, I think everyone in that building wanted Bryce Young over CJ Stroud. And so, I think that's part of his deal. But was Dan Morgan saying we should trade Brian Burns to LA, and Scott Fitterer was saying, no, we can't? I don't know that. And I don't know that we'll ever know what's true about that or some of the other personnel decisions, but certainly he's an autonomous person who should be able to make his own decisions, and the buck stops with him.
How do you know that Bo and Double J have really made it in life? Sirens.
Oh, they're living downtown. They're living
sirens.
They're living they're living downtown. They're living the life. But yeah.
No, trust me, it's the best part of doing live hits all the time.
No, that's a badge, man.
No,
that's
I was gonna say, we were talking to Bo yesterday. Sure enough, I'm like, I know where Bo is in New York. I'm like, yeah, it happens. It's New York. You're hearing jackhammers and sirens all the time, man.
I'm going to ask you what you think the Panthers should do with their one premium asset, Double J, and that is the 33rd pick in the draft. What's the smart play there for the Panthers? It seems to be a franchise that's not making many of those.
Yeah, wide receiver, offensive lineman. I mean, the great thing is it's really deep. The other really great thing is you can spin it into something. There's going to be quality wide receivers and offensive linemen that will be available at 33, but will also be available at like 38. And so what we see every single year is a fight to get up to that first pick in the second round. So we could see that with the Panthers, and they could get an extra pick somewhere to just slide back a little bit. But do you play around with that? I don't know if you're the Panthers, if you try to do that just to go back a few picks and you miss out on your guy because you wanted an extra 5th round pick. So wide receiver, offensive line, I mean, it's not even a question, and really probably should be wide receiver based off of how good these guys are and how cheap you can get them.
While you were busy covering the NFL and being at the Super Bowl, and I got to see you on TV, it was unbelievable. You just make my heart so happy when we see Double J have the success that he does. Drake May was kind of muddling through an odd second year as Carolina's starter, as somebody who's removed from it, but still obviously knows a lot about Carolina. What did you make of some of the talk about Drake May during the combine? I think he's going to be like Phillip Rivers. I think he's going to play in the NFL forever.
He's working with Phillip Rivers.
I mean, I think he's going to be really good in the NFL.
Yeah.
But what some of the things people were saying about him, I'm like, did you guys watch him? Like,
yeah, but that's what's always
a dream
in the pre-draft process, right? You're going to get people who act like they really watched him or just watched a couple of cut-ups, and you're going to get that with anybody. This is what is going to be unique about this draft process is you have Caleb Williams, who is very clearly and obviously the best quarterback in the draft. So we're going to hear a lot of things that are made up about Caleb Williams to fill the vacuum because the Bears are going to take Caleb Williams number 1 overall. That's going to happen, but we have to keep up the mystery and intrigue for another month and a half. So after that, it's Jaden Daniels or Drake May. And frankly, in talking with people, one person whose opinion I respect will tell me Jaden above Drake May. Another person will tell me Drake over Jaden. So like, it seems to be, whatever your preferences, whatever your philosophical and school of thought ultimately is. So we have to talk about these guys, and I mean the general media, not just the three of us right here.
Sure.
And we have to fill this vacuum with noise, but really, if you are a Carolina fan or just watched UNC, you can immediately discredit someone who is disqualifying themselves when they say something crazy about Drake May.
Well, it's interesting you bring up the Caleb Williams aspect of this, in that I saw it last week with the Athletic report about the camp, right? Like, he doesn't have an agent. And I can already see the talking points being formed to knock him down in the draft, because if there's one thing the NFL dislikes more than anything else, is somebody who is trying to disrupt how contracts are doled out.
Yeah, and he is disrupting the system, not doing the combine medicals.
Yep.
Not having an agent. I dealt with it. I did a story on Lamar Jackson and his process back when he was coming out of Louisville.
Mm-hmm.
And frankly, if you are Caleb Williams, I'll be honest, why do you need an agent right now? Because you're going number 1 overall to that team right there. The contract is what the contract is.
Sure.
Like, if you've been riding with this group of people for a long time, like, now you're introducing this other person who may seem like a leech to you, or some sort of cretin. And so you explore it, which they did. They had meetings. They haven't signed with anyone. Highly doubt they are. And, it is a new way. We keep saying new generation of athlete, but boy, he really embodies the new generation of athlete.
I feel like for the next NFL topic, we have to bring in our next guest a little bit early. Let's say hello to Brooke Pryor, ESPN.
What's up, Brooke?
Hey guys, I didn't know when you were going to bring me in, and I'm over here eating my lunch of popcorn, so I'm going to put that down.
That's a lunch of champions right there. No, I wanted I wanted to go DTH Power Hour here for a couple of reasons. The first one is I can't think of 2 people that I want to talk to about Russell Wilson more.
I can't wait.
Than Jonathan Jones of CBS and Brooke Pryor, ESPN. With the Steelers, no less.
The only thing that you can't inject in my veins was the possibility of Brooke having to cover Russ playing for Matt effing Canada. That would have been my whole life. I
want you to know, the first thing I did, well, maybe like second or third, because I did send the texts of like, what is this? Is this happening? I did my due diligence. And then I went to my Twitter and I searched Russell Wilson, because I thought, what unhinged thing did I say when I created this account back in 2010? And he was going through senior day. Oh, popcorn's trying to kill me.
Okay.
And so is Russell Wilson.
Brooke, tell you what, I'm gonna take you out of the shot here. You give me the thumbs up when you're good to go, and we'll find out. Although, did Russell Wilson ever talk to you about your DTH column, JJ?
No, we never talked about it. I would have to imagine at this point he would not remember. But also,
he'll remember.
Oh, no, sir.
This is my curiosity.
We're capped.
This is my curiosity about Russell Wilson, and maybe I'm completely off base here in trying to defend Russell Wilson. I don't think his experience in Denver is necessarily about Russell Wilson. I think it's more about the Denver Broncos and how terribly they've gone about all this stuff the last 2 years. They hired Nathaniel Hackett as, what'd you call it? The AAU coach that's getting the assistant's job to bring in the star player?
Yeah, you're Danny Manning's dad, the truck driver.
Right, and that's why they brought on Nathaniel Hackett, because they were going to get Russell Wilson, because, divas.
Aaron Rodgers. They're going to get Aaron Rodgers.
They were going to get Aaron Rodgers. But that didn't work out. They bring Russell Wilson. They clearly overpaid to get Russell Wilson. And then they bring in a coach who clearly does not like Russell Wilson. So I almost feel bad for Russell. Is that okay?
I feel more bad for Russell after the events of last year than I did the events of the previous year, because, the whole having an office and having his entire crew around and all that, like, the Broncos could have said no and did not. And Ovies, to your point, like that fault is on the Broncos.
Mm-hmm.
Sure. And then Sean Payton takes this job, and there's very few people who actually think that these two are going to get along. And then the Broncos doing the really, really terribly dumb thing of approaching Russell Wilson 13-ish months after he signed a $250 million contract, asking him to redo the contract in the bye week, which has now put them in this point, because there is a world where you just deal with Russell through the season, and then you work with him after the season. Hey, we're going to trade you, Russ. It didn't work out, but let's work together on this contract and find you a good place. And maybe you don't have $85 million in dead cap, but you just couldn't help yourself mid-season. You had to go to the dude during the bye week and say, change your contract. And Giglio, like, if you know anything about Russell Wilson, you know that that's not going to work well for you. Like, all you have to do is Google him.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
The Broncos handled it poorly. Sean Payton handled it poorly. But as you said, Double J, when Sean Payton got that job, I actually asked Mike Archer. I said, who does Sean Payton remind you of the most? And everyone would say the same thing, Tom O'Brien.
Yeah.
And how did that work out?
Yeah.
Right? Like, sorry.
Yeah, the only question left is what accent does he give Sean Payton?
Mr. Cool can handle Russ, I think.
Right, Brooke?
I'm fired up.
Right?
I'm getting a jersey. I'm getting a Steelers jersey.
Did you scrub your Twitter account?
Okay, first of all, there were actually not that many tweets because I didn't know what I was doing with Twitter in 2010. So I'm grateful to myself, my freshman year of college self, for that. The texts that I have received and sent in the last 3 hours have all been, what in the world? Where did this come from? It makes no sense. And here's why. And I understand that the Steelers have been, should be interested in Russ, right? I mean, he's going to be a bargain guy. Omar Khan loves a good deal. They need a quarterback. They only have one under contract. All of these things in some way make sense, but it also makes no sense when a week ago we heard Omar say, I have full faith in Kenny Pickett. We have full faith in this guy. Really, because if you have full faith in this guy, then why are you bringing in a guy that still wants to be a starter in the NFL? Yes, he's a discount, but that puts a lot of pressure on Kenny, and they do want to have a competition. But this is a competition that I think Kenny Pickett would lose. And at that point, are you saying that we give up on Kenny Pickett?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, the Arthur Smith hire from everyone I've talked to is about Kenny Pickett. Why would you bring in Russell Wilson in this situation? To me, it says they don't have full faith in Kenny Pickett. If there's even interest being out there linked between the two parties. I think if they go re-sign Mason Rudolph, that to me is a more fair competition, one that they still want Kenny Pickett to win, but Mason Rudolph will have a more fair shot than some of the contrived competitions that have happened in the past.
Let me just say, nobody takes their players' feelings into account more than the Steelers. Like, they kept Ben Roethlisberger around for like 8 years, way too long.
Yeah.
And now you're sitting here like, let's be fair to Kenny Pickett. I told you last year, and I was right. Kenny Pickett is a replacement level quarterback. If you're serious about winning the Super Bowl, you're not going into the season with Kenny Pickett as your quarterback.
Are you serious?
If that's not fair to Kenny, tough shit, Kenny. Guess what?
Here's the thing, though. Maybe the conversation should be that the Steelers have gone soft because they did hold on to Ben too long.
Forever.
But
yes,
they cut James Harrison. Like they've moved on from players before those players were ready to go. And now that kind of narrative is turning, and Ben was really, I think, the fulcrum of that, of this loyalty that was such a good thing for them so long, is now why they're in the position that they're in right now, and why we're now having to flirt with Russell Wilson and maybe go to a stakeout at the Pitt airport to see if he goes from private plane into an Uber. I don't know if we have private cars in Pittsburgh, so get a black car.
You'll see that Air Alaska tail from anywhere. Don't worry.
Yeah.
I would say, honestly, Kenny Pickett just objectively has certainly not done enough in his career to earn like, oh yeah, you should be the week one starter right now in March, right? And so when they say there's going to be a competition, there should be a competition. And the thing about Russ is I do think he played better than Sean Payton probably would admit. But I talk with folks who tell me that they think Russell Wilson's a backup in the NFL. I don't necessarily believe that. I still think that he is a starting quarterback. But like, if Kenny Pickett had been drafted in the second round, like, we wouldn't talk about Kenny Pickett the same way. It's because he was a first round quarterback, because he hasn't done anything on the field to have earned like, yeah, we should have you in a quarterback competition, but it should be against somebody that you can probably beat.
If you want some ham-fisted radio logic, Double J, how about this? I don't think Jaden Daniels is going to be good in the NFL because, like Kenny Pickett, he was 100 years old, beating up on 18-year-olds. That's why he was good in college. So mark that one down.
I got it.
Speaking of old, we'll get JJ out on this, but I wanted to have both of you here at the same time.
You just call JJ old.
Well, actually,
I really love that. That's a really great transition. I have no idea where you're going, but I love it.
He is old, but Brooke's gonna catch a stray here too. How did you guys, and Brooke, you were there for it. How did you feel watching somebody that you came into UNC with, Armando Bacot, finally getting honored? Because you all were in the same freshman class together, right?
We were not actually.
Oh, okay.
I think he started around like the Civil War era. He's been there longer than Perry Ellis was at Kansas. I think Perry might still be there. It was lovely. It was great. I do have a gripe. I am upset with Hubert Davis for getting rid of senior speeches because that was an emotional moment that I very much wanted. Now that I have reclaimed a piece of my fandom and I went to the game with my mom, her first game at the Dean Dome in like 15 years since I was in high school. And I was like, Mom, we've got great seats. We're going to just like stay put for a while. We're going to listen to these speeches. And we didn't get them. So that was a disappointment.
Yeah, that is a bit of a bummer. All right, Duke Carolina on Saturday. You guys going full homer here at Cameron Indoor? They're gonna win?
Of course. It's going to be a Carolina victory.
Okay.
And then Carolina will probably, Giglio, what would you say, 2 seed in the East?
I would
have to go through UConn in Boston. Okay, no problem.
I'd rather be 1 out west.
Yeah, that's fine with me. I mean, whatever. I already have my hotel booked for Phoenix. Is the only point.
We know you're Carolina fans. That's what you guys do. You freaking optimism is unbelievable.
No.
No. Brooke does not have that optimism.
I don't because when I think of people pre-booking hotels, it was right after the football's Miami when no football and basketball are not the same. But the number of friends I had that were like, oh, I've got Airbnbs locked down in the 2 playoff semifinal cities. And you know what? A lot of people lost deposits and that's on them. So no, I do not pre-book hotels. But what I am rooting for is UNC to be, I'd be fine with a 2 seed. I know that Charlotte's a host site, but so is Pittsburgh. So come on up to Appalachia. I don't really know what we consider Pittsburgh, but I'll be there. And so I would like to welcome in my North Carolinians. Bring a biscuit for me.
So JJ, with CBS having the rights to all these things and you being a CBS star, like, you have a clause in your contract where you get to interview Hubert Davis at the Final Four or something like that? Like, how does it work?
I have like
Jim, appreciate it, Nance, but I got this one.
Yeah, there's no. I will not be on air for CBS during the NCAA tournament when Carolina's playing for a number of reasons.
Oh, come on. I want to see you full on just letting it rip talking to UNC. Let's go.
They don't want that either.
Okay, that's fine. Fair enough. One last point about UNC before we let you go, Jonathan. Help a couple of state dudes out here. Is it that so if we point out that like Theo Pinson spending all this time on his podcast talking about, man, I hate NC State, and Justin Jackson's giggling along and all this other stuff, and you simply point out, hey man, it's great that you care. So clearly there's something there. Record aside, you clearly care about beating NC State. It's almost like that's like the worst thing you can tell a Carolina person. Oh, so you care about State. Am I off base here?
I don't understand like why we have to. Of course it's a rivalry. And of course it's been a one-sided, lopsided rivalry. Like
yeah.
Just of course.
Yes.
That's it. Like, I mean, it's basic. No, they are not Carolina's rival the same way that Duke is. That game does not matter as much as the Duke game. But this is a rival, and I've never really understood that. I don't. It disgusts me that it's a conversation still in 2024.
Brooke,
disgust. I agree. I struggle with the word rival because again, I don't know that you can say rival and one-sided in the same sentence. Like you can hate someone and want to keep beating them, but they're not a rival. I don't know. I got a Merriam-Webster.
Well, isn't it
what rival means?
But isn't it a byproduct of the area and this area, and you guys having grown up in North Carolina, both of you, that unlike all your professional stops, having those 3 schools and the proximity that they're in creates levels that are not similar in any other location?
Correct. Like it's one of those, you got to be there. And like when you're there, you know it. Like it's not if somebody is trying to talk about it from Atlanta, Georgia, like you're not going to understand. And that's okay. That's totally fine. And a few years ago, Wake was involved in some of that conversation.
Yeah,
they were absolutely involved. And folks, you had to be there. Like the 4 of us can't explain that right now.
Yeah.
So, whatever. If people actually feel that way, then they never were in that area.
With you on that, Moon. with you on that one. And before you get out of here, from Sam on the chat, Russell cannot hurt you guys anymore.
No,
Yes, he can. Yes, he
Brooke.
can.
Brooke, good
For
luck
sure.
with that.
Yes, he can.
AJ, appreciate it, man. We'll talk to you later.
See y'all.
All right, Brooke, don't go anywhere
I would never.
because I got to pay some bills. Big thanks to Butcher's Market. Check them out online, butchersmarkets.com. Locations across the triangle. New location at Lake Boone Shopping Plaza.
Our corners.
We got
The
Lake
OG
Boone
corners.
on lock. So here's what you do with Butcher's Market. Yes, they have a bunch of great take-home stuff. Yes, we had a listener that brought up the biscuit ham
the
sandwiches,
biscuits. Yeah,
which
they
are
were like,
delicious.
what have you guys been sleeping on that?
I mean, not sleeping on it. I knew about them. I thought that was more of like
It's
a
hard for
holiday
me to
thing.
work through all of those
It's a
things.
party
though.
thing. But more importantly, especially at that Lake Boone spot, because it's a very busy area, drop in and get a sandwich.
Mhm.
The sandwiches are off the charts. So again, big thanks to Butcher's Market. Speaking of Lake Boone, you get that sandwich, then you just go over to Two Roosters.
Go get some ice cream.
We really do have that place
It's
on
a
lockdown.
deal.
So yeah, tworoosters.com is the website. They're changing out flavors all the time. They got their core, don't get me wrong, but I'm always intrigued by the more exotic flavors. And of course, if you're going to PNC Arena tonight for the Hurricanes, you can drop by the Two Roosters and get a little helmet cup.
The bourbon coffee. I was going to say, we need to come up with like a ridiculous promotion. Like pick somebody who never scores. Like anytime Jacob Slavin scores, you get 10% off at the Butcher's Market and 10% off at the Two Roosters. If you say the OG has this market cornered. I don't know. Just workshop.
I'm with you on that. There has to be something. There has to be something. And also, big thanks to Hometown Realty. Drive by the sign and garner blessings upon blessings.
And yeah, I can give it away now. Our ACC coverage next week will be brought to you by Hometown Realty. So if you're trying to sell your house in particular, don't watch some like Netflix documentary and think you can handle this by yourself. Go with the experts. You will make more money in the long run. Go to myhtr.com.
Yeah, it's for real, because I got graphics for it and everything. All right, Brooke Pryor, ESPN. She is back with us. We asked Jonathan about this as it relates to the Carolina Panthers and what they do with their pick in the draft. And I think JJ's whole thing was, look, see if you can move back, acquire more, that kind of stuff. What are we're far away from the draft, but are the Panthers even kind of a discussion point at all in NFL circles of where they pick?
No, not really. I think that JJ's absolutely right. It is all about acquiring more assets. Like you have drafted Bryce Young. He's the guy that you have said at this point, that's our future. That's who we're going to go all in on. So now get more pieces around him, draft and develop. I am really scared though by putting that out there because we don't know that this staff can draft and then develop. Like
Right.
I feel much better saying an organization that's established like the Steelers, they should acquire more draft picks because we've seen how they develop people. Like there's just no infrastructure in the Panthers that makes me feel really good about saying that. But traditional thought would suggest that's what they should do. But I mean, I'm just so frustrated by seeing everything that the Panthers have done in the last several years because it's just been running in place. Like they're in purgatory of their own making, but it's like a purgatory that's closer to the outer circle of hell than like truly in the middle or like on their way to ascending.
Double J sounded confident that Caleb Williams was going to be not only the number one pick in the NFL draft, but he would definitively be playing for the Chicago Bears.
Mm-hmm.
What says you, Brooke Pryor?
I say that also, unless the Commanders do something wild and manage to wrestle him away, wrestle that pick away. I am very intrigued by the Cliff Kingsbury addition because that would suggest a telegraph type move of, hey, Cliff Kingsbury worked with Caleb Williams officially at USC. Cliff Kingsbury kind of comes from that Lincoln Riley tree, or they're at least branches of the same tree. There's some familiarity there. That's the only one that I'm really keeping an eye on. But I mean, I can't imagine what the haul would have to be to just trade up that one spot. But I am also watching how Justin Fields' value seems to be dropping off. I mean, if you told me that you could get Justin Fields for just a 2 earlier this year, I would have been like, I mean, you do that, you close your eye. Like that is an unreal bargain. And now that kind of feels expensive.
If you're Atlanta, do you not try for Justin Fields at this point?
If I'm any team that has a question at quarterback, I'm trying for Justin Fields. If I'm the Steelers, I'm trying for Justin Fields. Like, no, he's not like the answer. He is not a ready-made product. There's a lot to mold and work with there, but I think his raw talent, the raw just tools that he has as a mobile quarterback, we know he can throw the ball. Like, put him in the right system, that guy's going to be a really good quarterback. And especially when you look at the AFC landscape as a whole, speaking specifically to AFC teams, like this is a quarterback's conference. You need to have a guy that can compete with, you know, the Mahomes, or at least make you not look silly against the Mahomes, the Lamar Jacksons, the Joe Burrows, the Josh Allens. I know that there's still some question marks about Justin Fields, but to me, I think that his ceiling is a lot higher than the ceiling of some of the guys, a Desmond Ridder, a Kenny Pickett, those type of guys that currently are under contracts with their teams.
Ready for a heated up Giglio radio quarterback? Another Giglio quarterback take?
Oh, always. I love them so much.
So last year, one of the dumbest things about the draft was CJ Stroud was dinged because he went to Ohio State, and Ohio State quarterbacks could not produce in the NFL. Is it a compliment or an insult that Drake May might be held to a similar standard, and the failures of Sam Howell and Mitch Trubisky might be held against him when we're talking about that number 2 pick?
You know, I was having a conversation about that with someone the other day about the idea that UNC just has, I don't know what spell Mac Brown and Larry Fedora were putting on some of these talent evaluators to like entrance them into drafting their quarterbacks. I think that it is unfortunate for Drake May that that is the company that he keeps by, you know, just being from the same alma mater. It's like me and JJ. Unfortunately, we both have the same diploma. At least I think JJ has a diploma. We're not entirely sure. Mine's framed on the wall behind me. I don't know if you guys can see it. I have to take my shots when he's not here, because otherwise I'm a dead woman walking.
No, I'm gonna clip it and start the group chat. So
great, please do. Awesome, love that. Can't wait for it. But in the Ohio State case, I think that that's unfair. To me, it's a better argument for it. I'm trying. How do I say this? Ohio State is playing against better teams. There's better competition. To me, I don't buy the argument of like, oh, well, you shouldn't draft an Ohio State quarterback because the other ones haven't panned out. I still feel better about their tape as a whole and everything that they do in college, better preparing them for the NFL. Versus I look at UNC and like the level of competition is not the same that Ohio State's facing. Like we know that. We see where they go, where these teams go in the postseason, the history that they have, just the tests that those guys face. To me, there is something to be said for the UNC quarterback's lack of success. And I think that should be a factor, but I don't think that should completely scare an interested team away from Drake May. It's up to him now to break that narrative. And I mean, he's had some good examples to see of what not to do in situations that he doesn't want to be in.
I do find the Drake May, I thought that the Drake May conversation would hit a fever pitch. I honestly thought that would, especially how it all started at Carolina. And
he had a weird year this year.
He had a weird year, but NFL talent evaluators are supposed to look past all that kind of stuff.
Sure.
And I also think too, it's interesting, and maybe we have gotten to a place in NFL, and Brooke, you can speak on this, that we have gotten to a point of growth when it comes to NFL draft talent evaluation, where the usual tropes that we talk about Caleb Williams are not happening. Like it's almost like a foregone conclusion he's going to be the number one, and people are saying, yeah, I would absolutely want him, no questions asked, even if people are trying to make up some stuff about red flags. And Drake May, which is what you would typically be obsessed with, isn't in this situation. I think that's growth with how we talk about the draft.
I think it's growth. I also just think this is how I think that we're going to see it continue to evolve and change And I think one thing that like I'm really interested in, you're talking earlier about you don't think Jaden Daniels is going to pan out because he's an old man playing against 18-year-olds. How often are we going to see that coming up in the future because of the transfer portal and NIL and all those things? Guys are going to be staying in college football longer. Some of them, like a Sam Hartman, and their stats are going to be padded because of it. I mean, at some point, the extra COVID year of eligibility is going to fall off. So we're not going to have these like 6th-year seniors coming out. But I do think that the position as a whole is going to get a lot, I don't want to say a lot older, but I think it is going to get older. That's going to change the evaluation. And with Caleb Williams, I think it helps him that he transferred, which is crazy, but it just gives him different sample sizes, different looks. He's gone against different defenses. The same thing has kind of helped out Sam Hartman playing in 2 different style offenses. I think that he is just such a unique and good talent that it would be a waste of time to try to throw out these red flags, which, but like JJ said, we do have 49 days, I think, of content to come up with until the NFL draft. So something will happen, but I don't think is going to hit. Don't get me started on the Hartman takes. I do have many.
That's
my husband doesn't.
I was going to say, we are wrapping things up here. We appreciate your time, but I was going to bring up Sam Hartman. I mean, I don't have the slow-mo 40 time video.
That's all I want.
Hair. That's all you want. You just want the hair.
I actually have no takes. I just have that image burned in my mind forever.
He's a handsome man.
It's not even about his face. It's the hair. Like, I'm jealous. I wish I could get that movement.
It's like when Brownlow would talk about Trevor Lawrence's hair. It's like, and he's not even using conditioner. Excuse me.
Listen, that man might use Head and Shoulders, and it's unfair. It's like when you men end up having like great skin, and you're like, I just use a Dove bar. Well, that's awesome. I spent $150 today, and that only covers my morning routine. It's not fair.
On that note, Brooke Pryor, ESPN, we appreciate the time as always. We will talk to you later.
Fingers crossed.
Hopefully,
don't put that on me. Put that on me.
If you thought we were talking to you a lot during the football season, or me hitting you up like, "Hey, you got time today?" If Russell Wilson ends up a Steeler, we're gonna have a permanent chair for you.
Put me on the payroll. If Russell Wilson's a Steeler, put me on the payroll.
Bezos Bucks might be back on the menu, Brooke.
Let's go.
All right, we'll talk to you later. Big thanks to Brooke Pryor for hanging out. Big thanks to Jonathan Jones for hanging out with us. And big thanks to Mike Maniscalco for hanging out. And while I'm doling out the thanks, I want to thank Whitaker and Hamer for sponsoring Ovies and Giglio. Check them out, wh.lawyer, attorneys and counselors at law. I'll be driving to DC for us next week. Hopefully, I will not need the services of Whitaker and Hamer because Giglio's aura is with me.
That might be a real thing.
It might be. I don't know. So we shall see. So I might need to hit up the boys over at Whitaker and Hamer when we get back from DC. Please don't die over there. Go get another Groove Wagon or something like that. Which, by the way, I have not had Groove Wagons during the day. Yeah. I only have them at night because I know, after 2 of them, it's sleepy time. One of them during the day,
very chill.
It's very, very chill. I don't know if I need another one because then I'll definitely be asleep. Anyway, big thanks to State Farm for sponsoring Ovies and Giglio. Check them out, insuregarner.com, 919-779-8277, or you can visit the OGinsurance.com. And they got QR codes on the cards, which I don't know if you've got that or not, Joe. You do? All right. So I do. Put that up there real quick. And of course, thanks to our friends over at Homefield. Check out homefieldapparel.com. OG23 is a promo code to save 15% off your order. It is 3rd month mania for the folks over at Homefield, meaning they got new stuff coming out all the time, every day over the next couple of weeks. So you definitely want to take advantage of it. If you have not used the promo code, now's the time. Now that we are in 3rd month mania. All right, it is time to get into not a 2, not a 3, not a 4, but a 5-pick parlay tonight, Joe.
Wait, do we know what happened with Leverkusen?
I don't.
Okay.
I have to look up the Europa League scoreboard, which I don't have it in. Oh, here it is. I have this in front of me. Let me pull this
You needed
up.
over 3. You needed them to win and somebody to score.
Hold on a second. This is from Greg. My initial insult in hearing your pronunciation of Leverkusen has worn off and has now turned into comedic relief. Well, yes, Greg, that was the point. They were founded in 1904. They are positioned to win the German league for the first time ever in their team's history. Best of luck with the bet. I had seen, based on what I had seen on Twitter earlier, that the other team was winning. So I might not have won this bet. I'm very.
Boo.
I have to look up what the Europa.
I went 1-1 yesterday, so we're still at positive money over here.
Okay,
and I have a bet straight for the heart here for longtime ACC fans. This will warm their heart. For the final time tonight, Stanford and Cal will meet as Pac-12 opponents. Don't worry, they'll be ACC opponents next year.
Okay,
good work, Jim Phillips. Stanford is a 4.5-point home favorite. I normally do not like taking road teams, but I'm going to take Cal in this game. Both of these teams are dog shit, and I believe Cal plus 4.5 is the right bet for tonight.
I cannot find the score for this game while I'm looking.
Maybe they took it off of
maybe they
the
did
board
take it
for
off the
you.
board. I don't know. I really don't know. Maybe there's somebody in the comment section that can. Oh, it's 2-2. Thank you, Birmingham.
So you're over. You at least have the over that you needed. They're not going to win, though.
So it's Leverkusen? Leverkusen? Is that how you pronounce it?
Looks like it's Leverkusen.
Leverkusen? I really don't. I honestly do not know. I don't. Anyway, it's 2-2. So I think I hit on the over 3.5.
Okay.
Let me see if I can pull it up.
Yeah, but they got to win.
They do have to win.
Yeah.
I don't know who I don't know who scored goals or not. I have to go back and look. Anyway,
well, you have a convoluted Canes.
I do
tonight. Don't
I have a 5-pick parlay for $10.
Whoa. 5 legs. So just so I'm getting the reasoning correct here.
Yes.
You can't hit a 3-legger.
No, I'm going
so
5.
Let's now increase the difficulty.
Yes.
I can't do the People crossword in People magazine.
Nope.
Let me try the New York Times.
Yeah, that's what I'm going for. So here's my 5-pick parlay tonight for the Canes in Montreal. The Canes will score the first goal.
Ooh, I hate it already.
The first period, under 1.5 goals.
I like that.
This is the best part. KK will be an anytime goal scorer in this game.
Against Montreal. I like that.
Yeah. I mean, I got good money on that one, by the way. Marty Necas, freaking out ahead of the trade deadline, will have under 2.5 shots in this game.
Ooh, I don't like that.
But again, Necas is freaking out because of the trade deadline.
Okay.
So under 2.5 shots, and Brent Burns also under 2.5 shots. My $10 bet, if all 5 of these things hit, as Joe makes a face, $710.
It's impressive. It's not that unlikely that you get those kind of odds.
Yeah, I mean, you were making a face with the Necas and the Burns under on shots.
Well, the thing about the Canes that you should really never do is bet any kind of under in terms of shots.
Fair enough.
Shots. Yeah. First period with them, like I would fade them forever in the first period.
I'm with you on that.
They're just not a fast starting team.
But I'm trying
They're a great second period.
But look, I learned this when I did DraftKings Fantasy back in the day. If you try to go with the grain,
you're in trouble.
You're never going to succeed.
Hey.
So go big or go home with my $10. All right. Like that's my general thought process on this. Anyway, I guess that game, that soccer game they drew, I just have to see who, so that I didn't win because I had
you needed them to win.
So
sorry, buddy.
It happens. All right. You ready for some legal?
Let's see if you can do it.
Let's go. Download the DraftKings Sportsbook app now and sign up with code OG24 to get up to $300 in bonus bets once mobile sports betting goes live. That's March 11th, folks. Only on DraftKings Sportsbook, coming soon to North Carolina, March 11th with code OG24. The crown is yours. Gambling problem? Call 877-718-5543 or visit morethanagame.com.
So close. So close.
I always want to say .com.
I know.
Visit morethanagame.nc.gov 21 plus, North Carolina only, new customers only, subject to regulatory licensing requirements, maximum $300 in bonus bets, not available for use until March 11th, 2024. Bonus bets expire 168 hours after issuance. Deposit, wagering, and eligibility restrictions apply. Terms at DraftKings.com/sportsbook/NC. One other note about the Carolina Hurricanes. They did activate Freddie Anderson from IR.
Okay.
I don't know what that means.
Isn't that what Mike Maniscalco was basically telling you?
Yes, it's basically what we're saying.
Okay.
It's official now.
Okay.
It's official. Yeah, because when Mike was on earlier, all that stuff was unfolding live. I just wanted to clear up for people who'd been joining live on the YouTube that yes.
Look at those radio instincts. They don't kick in for the read, oddly enough.
No, but
on the reset, they do.
But when it comes into providing context, Joe, that's what matters the most. That's what matters.
50-50. That's good.
The most. Yes, it is Thursday. Yes, it's a sleek-fleet.com OG Live. So why don't we bring in Tyler from Sleek Fleet to talk a little bit about the Sleek Fleet?
I also need to make sure that Tyler's okay, that when we get to DC on Thursday, it's going to be Sleek Fleet OG Live presented by Copiers Plus, brought to you by Hometown Realty.
Tyler, you cool with that?
You okay with that?
I'm totally okay with
Okay.
that. Yeah. Totally
It's just
fine.
Thursday.
Yeah.
It's just Thursday.
That's totally fine.
Yeah.
Just so you know.
Now, we are not using you for DC transportation.
Correct.
However, we might need you for the U.S. Open.
And that is something we are starting to get calls about.
Okay.
People are starting to get interest. We're not sure, or they're not sure, how long the trip is, how far it is from RDU, and trying to get a little general consensus. Most parties we're seeing anywhere from 4 to 6 people plus.
Okay.
They're coming in as groups. So yeah, we're taking the calls. If you have any interest in going to the US Open, that is something we can definitely help you with. Definitely give us a call or visit us at sleek-fleet.com and something we can arrange for you.
So 919-335-8840. That's the phone number, 919-335-8840. So you're talking about two people who are not great planners.
Okay.
But my thought process was for the US Open, all right, are we really going to be able to figure out a way to stay there in Pinehurst?
No.
And do we really want to drive back and forth each day?
Not really, no.
So that's where I think Sleek Fleet, you ditch your average ride share, you hit up Tyler, you go to sleek-fleet.com and he will take care of you.
Yes, sir. Anytime.
Yeah.
Now, planning is always key, as Joe joked.
What was I joking?
Well, no. I mean,
like
we're getting better
we
about
are.
it.
We're trying.
We're getting better
trying.
about planning for sure, and we're managing to do it with very minimal meetings, which is also good.
Even better.
Which makes it even better. But let's say that the person who needs Sleek Fleet isn't so like ahead of the game and thinking about mid to late June. Can I call that week?
So typically we like to do 12 hours in advance to answer your question.
All right.
There are times where people have last minute trips. We have definitely catered to that as well. But we typically like to be 12, 24 hours in advance.
Okay.
But like I said, just give us a call, because if somebody's available, I'm not going to turn you away.
Gotcha.
If that makes sense. Yeah.
All right. And now, of course, we're thinking about big events like the U.S. Open coming up, but we're still in the middle of the Carolina hurricane season.
Yep.
We got a game tonight.
Yep.
I know transportation to get in and out of there. They've really kind of come up with a new system, and you're a part of that. I saw it in action for our OG tailgate when you brought the listeners out. But for people that are thinking about going to a Canes game or thinking about the playoffs, ahead of that, how do we work that out?
So, like I said, call. We do large parties up to 13.
Okay.
We have that capability. Give us a call. We can book some out in advance. Like I said, up to 12 hours. And we can get you right to the front door, dropped off. And as you walk out, you look straight out to the Carter Finley Stadium sign, and we're sitting right there waiting for you.
Yeah, it doesn't get any easier than that.
It's a simple process.
Yes, I've seen it out.
Tyler, you're also a big Canes fan. Joe is in the camp that they're not going to do anything.
I mean,
I'm in the camp.
It's not looking. I mean, it's pretty clear that they're not moving on from Soros with Nashville. They're in. They're actually making moves to double down and be
I know.
in. So.
I know. So my dreams are seemingly crushed. But as one of the OG Canes fans, what do you think of them sitting pat here on the trade deadline day?
The trade deadline to me is a chance to reflect on what we have.
Mhm.
So maybe, we see what we have and work on that. But the trade deadline doesn't sound like it's going to be that interesting come Friday unless somebody wants to make a better decision than we can.
As we've talked about, we talked about it with Mike Maniscalco earlier. The Canes under Tom Dundon and Don Waddell and Rod Brittamore don't do this sort of thing at the deadline.
Yep.
They don't necessarily do rentals, and I understand I understand the philosophy from that. But I love how you put it. Trade deadline is a time to reflect on what we have.
Yep.
I should remind myself sometimes of that when I'm frustrated.
Necessary.
When I'm frustrated with the LLC and where things are going, sometimes like, you know what, Joe, let's reflect on what we have.
Yeah.
I like
Absolutely.
that. I like that, Tyler.
We'll have to have you on next time to fix our tax issues. Just
Yeah, appreciate that.
since you know all these things already.
919-335-8840.
Tyler, Sleek Fleet, we appreciate you
Yes, sir.
sponsoring OG Live. Again, check it out, sleek-fleet.com. Take it easy, man.
Yes, sir. Thank you, guys.
All right, let's get out of here on some Hey Joe questions. The YouTube comments have been going on. Yes, I love the soccer fans in our audience. I almost feel like, oh, wait a minute, should I actually take soccer a little bit more seriously? Or do you, the listeners who care about soccer, enjoy the fact that I'm such a noob about it that it amuses you?
I think it's the latter.
Okay.
Don't go
That's
changing. Come on now.
No, I'm not gonna go changing. Like Lake pointing out, like, hey man, Carabag ain't no joke. Cool. You could have told me Carabag got a 9.5 rating on their last album on Pitchfork. I would have believed you, and I would have downloaded the album on LimeWire. Who knows? By the way, I think my phone's listening because I sent you a meme today.
Yeah,
That was about LimeWire. Kids and only 90s people know, and it's like, hey, welcome, and it's a LimeWire thing that is just going to wreck everything. All right, let's go to, as I get out of the comments here real quick, let's go to social media where we've got Juan pointing out, listening to the last two podcasts, you keep bringing up that state has a lack of commitment to the men's basketball program. When you say state, do you mean the administration, the big boosters, the collectives, or the fan base? I actually think it's the administration, and the administration not having a clear vision as to what they want the basketball program to be, which then funnels down to the big boosters, the collectives. NC State basketball, unlike football over the last couple of years, seems to just have a mishmash of people who have all their thoughts and ideas, and nobody can really coalesce around one thing. I think that's a fair assessment of Wolfpack basketball right now.
Yeah, look, when you say commitment, I think it's about everything, right? Like even the collective money for this year.
Yes.
Again, why does Rob Dillingham play for Kentucky and not NC State?
Money.
You asked about Hunter Salas. Well, why didn't they just go get Hunter Salas? Well, that price tag was a little bit high.
Yeah.
So, that doesn't mean you always have to go get the highest price players out there on the market, but you do have to get some proven commodities.
From Todd from the Mountain, Coach K is not the best to ever do it, Joe. Dean Smith is. Don't make me switch to Team Giglio. I mean, I'm not quite sure how that's a controversial statement in terms of what Mike Krzyzewski was able to accomplish over multiple decades in different eras of college basketball. I don't see how that's a wild take.
Don't worry, Todd. I wanted to write on the pennant back there, lost to 3-9 NC State. So you're right back in Ovies' camp. We're good.
Okay,
I saved you.
That's good because you're never going to convert Joe Giglio on App State. I might become the biggest App State fan if Caleb ends up at App State. Go. You never know. From Ryan, Iowa State has one good decade of basketball, and suddenly they've got the memes. I'm like, okay, what is this? Oh, this is pretty funny. The ACC, addicted to quad 3 losses as they stick a stick inside the spoke of their bicycle. The Big 12 gamed the net.
That's pretty good.
That actually is pretty good. I mean, I'm not going to hate on that meme. That's actually a pretty entertaining meme. from Paul Beam, marching band legend.
That's it.
If you want to make European soccer picks in the future, just hit me up. I'll help you out with the pronunciations. All right. We'll make that work. Over to who else we have here? From Marcus over on Threads. You guys had me depressed during the what could have been state coaches segment.
That didn't even include Rick Barnes, by the way, who in 2024 has one of the best teams in the country.
Yeah.
With an NC State beloved former player as his top assistant, whose son is a really high level player.
Yeah. That's rough. Rough. And we'll get out of here on this from Mike Rimmer. I had a lot of people pointing this out on social media yesterday. Kay Adams, who's doing stuff independently now, I guess is doing a tour of stuff. There's a big event taking place March 11th, which is bringing all these companies here. And I guess I did a stand-up at Bank of America Stadium where they talked to Nicole Tepper, who's in charge of a lot of the business. Her official title is Owner and Chief Administrative Officer. Here's what she had to say about the proudest moments of Carolina Panthers ownership since they took over 6 years ago.
We've embraced the city. I think what's great about being here in Charlotte and having this platform is being able to open up the stadium to 40 ticketed events. I mean, for the city and the state of Charlotte, for the people here and the economic impact it had. So for me, for Dave, like that's really one of the most proudest moments in the 6 years. I think before there was only 10 to 13 events here. So, I mean, think about that.
So long story short, the proudest moment for the Carolina Panthers ownership group is the fact that they found new ways to make money. Bare minimum shit, man. Like bare minimum shit in Charlotte. And that is what their most proud moment is. They're taking the, hey man, Jerry Richardson only cared about one thing and one thing only, and that was football. Okay. And Jeans Day, but football. But you see us, we're going to be like everybody else. And we're going to bring concerts, ticketed events,
soccer,
ticketed events.
Messi had nothing to do with it.
Nothing at all. Ticketed events. That's what they're calling it. i.e. making money. So again, hats off to the Teppers for doing bare minimum ownership stuff in Charlotte and being truly proud. I guess when the bar was that low, when it came to other events outside of football, yeah, that's it. Anyway, that's going to wrap it up for today's show. Shout out to everybody who hung out with us on OG Live. Thanks to sleek-fleet.com. Big thanks to Mike Maniscalco. Big thanks to Brooke Pryor of ESPN and Jonathan Jones of CBS. We appreciate our friends coming by, and we appreciate you for getting in the chat. Listen to the podcast. While I have you at the last minute here, may I remind you that giving the podcast 5 stars on your favorite podcast platform, like Apple, it helps. Responding to the survey on Spotify, that helps. Leaving a review on Apple or anywhere else, that certainly helps. So if you can do that, if you want to throw a like on this YouTube video, if you want to subscribe to YouTube, all that stuff helps in the long run. And of course, frequenting our sponsors clearly helps the podcast. So thanks to everybody who's already done it. Thanks to everybody who plans to do it in the future. And we will see you on Monday here on Ovies and Giglio. But there will be totally not a panic room on Saturday night from Cameron Indoor Stadium as North Carolina and Duke close out the regular season ahead of the ACC tournament. So Brownlow and I are going to be doing that. So please drop on by while we do that live on YouTube on Saturday night, immediately following the game.